I have them and I will, are we ready to start?
I've got 901.
All right, perfect. Sue, do you want to give an overview of the project and then we'll go
Sure.
from there? Okay.
Yeah, and I have some, like, do you want to look at the actual plans or you want me to just talk through it? I can share my
I can pull,
screen.
I can pull the plans up for us to look at. I can share my screen.
Okay,
So if
and
you
I
want to
have-
get started.
yeah, and I have
pull 'em up.
photos of the site as well, so if we need to, if that helps in orienting anyone, I
Okay.
can certainly show you some photographs of what we're talking about. But the, so this homeowner has not yet moved into the house. It's a new house to this homeowner. It's a seasonal home for them. They are working on interior renovations to the home and now starting to look at the exterior. And the improvements that are being proposed are generally accessibility improvements. So the property has on the south yard, there's a lawn access to the rear patio and the lakeside of the property. However, it's very steep. So we want to regrade, which requires a stone retaining wall so that they can have a little bit easier access along the sloped lawn. That's on the south yard, and the addition of some steps with a handrail for access as well. I don't see the plans. I don't know if you pulled them up.
Yep, I've got them. I'm just.
In addition to that, the existing patio has some settlement issues, and there are pavers that need to be reset. Yeah,
All right.
so you can see. Maybe the next sheet would probably show.
Yep, there we go.
So in looking at the patio, we're resetting pavers. There's just some maintenance work and rehabilitation work to the patio because it's aged. And while doing that, we want to take some of the slope off the walkway to the steps. And also, if you can go to the next page, this is the existing condition plan. They want to add a fire feature and some site walls to restrict access at the slope there. They also are adding a tram so that, because there's like over 40 steps, they're at that steep part right there by, they have steep banks there. So they're going to add a tram or would like to provide easier access down to the existing dock.
Okay. Where's the fire feature?
So this is, so you have, go to the next plan if you can.
Yeah, okay.
This is the existing.
Materials plan.
Yeah.
Grading. Planting.
While you're pulling that up, give me an idea of where on Westlake Road this is.
So this is just south of Wells Curtis.
Okay, all right.
There's a.
It's almost, I mean, yeah, right when Wells Curtis hits, it's like right there.
Yeah, it's, so after you head south, take a right off Wells Curtis, it's the first driveway
On the left.
property. You know, there's some that are directly across from Wells Curtis. It's right down from that.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah. There is a drainage gully that's north. It actually runs through the property, doesn't fully bisect it, but it does run through. You can see that dashed line on this survey here. And they do have an existing bridge that crosses that gully. Can I share my screen?
Yeah, you can. Yep. Let me make you a co-host.
Looks like it's giving me the option to do it.
Yep, go ahead.
Okay. So this area here, you can see my cursor. This is existing patio. So we're just expanding so that there's a walkway and taking some of the grade off of this. It's a very sloped walk to the steps, and a bit of a challenge to navigate if you're unsteady on your feet. So it's just a small expansion. This, you were asking where the fire feature is.
Oh, okay.
A site wall will be here with the fire feature. This is a wooded bank here. This dashed line that's shown right here is the edge of lawn. So we're not getting into, there's some small vegetation, but we're not getting into much tree removal in this area. A few small trees will need to be removed well under, I mean, like 2 or 3 inch caliber, small saplings that are coming up along for the track installation for the tram, but no significant tree removals needed for the 4-foot expansion and walkway.
Sue, how tall is the retaining wall?
So we're in design development. And right now it's a seat wall, 18 inches. I was out there this weekend and I may want to, I wanted to ask if there was, like, when we submit these plans, if we go up a couple inches, do we have to have that final for the submittal?
So, and Sean, correct me where I'm wrong. So my understanding is that I believe you guys are on for a single stage review, meaning that it's basically preliminary final all together as one.
Yeah.
Even though the plans reflect a preliminary and then ultimately a final, you don't need to show that. It could just be preliminary final. So if I understand your question correctly, you want to know, does the plans have to have that final information now? Am I correct? In most cases, you know, as part of the review, there's bound to be information that's still missing. If the plans are good enough condition and the board's going to move forward through the review, it's likely going to be a question and comment that has to be addressed. Whether or not it's a condition or whether or not it's something that can be done later on, that's up to you guys.
Okay.
But from the
Probably, right
from
now
the
we're
plan
showing it at 18 inches.
Okay.
But when we resubmit at the end of the week, I may increase that to 20 just because it's a little bit more comfortable for a seat wall
Yeah, I would suggest that you go to the height that
height that I want. Yeah.
covers you
Mhm.
because it makes it easier for us, specifically if we have to go back.
Yeah. All right, I'll do that. That will increase to likely 20 inches. You'll see it on the final plan that goes forward at the end of the week.
Yeah,
So there's a wooden retaining wall there now? Is that what?
There's no retaining
nothing.
wall. Yeah.
So there's nothing there. Okay.
No, I'll show you a photo because it'll help. I didn't include any existing photos in the application.
That would be super helpful because I did look on Encore and it's really, you can't see well from
Yeah, I know. There's a lot of
that angle.
Is this going to be visible from the shoreline?
No. So this is where you can see the photo that's up right now.
Uh-huh.
This is that steep lawn access and there will be some tree removal, but you can see this is a dead tree and there's some issues. We've had Davy tree out to assess the vegetation that's existing. This will be a widened lawn path and the slope will be taken down a bit so that there's easier access for mowers and maintenance in this general area here. Going back to the pit so that you can see how steep that is.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll take away some of the erosion issues that are already occurring on the property. These are existing steps that we would replace with stone steps and a handrail for access up. This is their leach field.
Mm.
This is the existing walkway to the steps. And it's hard to read slope in photos, but this is ramped and uncomfortable. And it goes right to like a big run of steps, about 20 plus steps at this location. So we are proposing adding 2 steps to get grade up here. So this is a little bit more level. It will still be ramped. This is the existing condition looking at the lake. So there is about 6 to 8 feet of lawn off the edge of the patio. It's sloped, but it is lawn. And then the vegetation exists in there. So this is fall, so a lot of the leaves have fallen off some of the undergrowth, but
None of
we
those
won't be-
trees, I'm sorry.
oh, go ahead.
I was gonna ask you, is that any of those trees being removed?
This tree is remaining. If any of the smaller stuff, like again, for the track, the tram landing will be in this location, but we don't anticipate any large removals. This tree is not slated for removal. I don't believe any of these are either. It's really just the shrubby growth and smaller saplings. This tree off to the right here is a large oak tree that it has a hole in it in the upper canopy. Davey is assessed, it's a hazard tree that's slated for removal separate from this project. It's not required as part of this project. It's a hazard tree that's planned for removal prior to my involvement in the project.
The only thing, Sue, is the removal of that tree could affect your shoreline guidelines requirements. If it's the intent to remove it, let us know, because that would be under the consideration when we review the shoreline guidelines.
Okay,
Yeah.
yes, and there is another tree on the other side of the steps, and I don't know. I don't think I have a photo readily accessible right now, but there's another tree that has been partially removed on the other side of the steps that will also be removed because it's got some weak growth coming out of it and is also a hazard on that bank.
Sue, one of the items that and I don't want to speak for Chuck or the board, but I think what we've seen to be the more successful identification ones are the ones where we get like a cover letter, either explaining why you feel, the existing conditions as is, or with the proposed improvements that additional plantings aren't needed to protect the shoreline because of whatever the value is, or you're doing something to enhance it. Either way, some type of a letter sometimes I think helps in that sense.
Yep, I will prepare the letter. And you can see we do have plantings proposed in place of where this is that large oak that will be removed. And we have plantings that will be established in front of the wall to both screen the wall and soften the shoreline. Again, this is up very high, not visible from the lake. It'll be quite screened just by elevation alone.
That patio that you were just showing in the previous image, is that existing right in the same location that you're doing this work now? I missed that conversation that was.
Yeah, I'll show you. I have a rendered plan. Again, I didn't submit it, but I will with this.
Gotcha.
With this final. So this shows this edge here.
Yep.
Dash line shows the existing patio edge. So we're really just coming out a few feet for the site wall and access to the tram. But this is all existing and just really rehabilitation. We're planning on salvaging and reusing the pavers that are out there today, provided they're suitable once removed.
Those air conditioning compressors were up on that timber wall. Where were they? And are they, you said the timber wall is being replaced?
No, that timber
Oh.
wall is staying.
Oh, okay.
That holds the air conditioning units here. We're just adjusting the grade along this side of the house so that you can actually get equipment down for maintenance or anything associated with taking care of their property. So this is just an 8-foot wide. It's still a ramped lawn, but not that steep, like 1 on like 3 that it is today. So this will be smoothed out a bit, and it requires, to get access, it does require a boulder wall installation along that west side or east side of the ramp.
And those 3 access covers you were showing in that one picture with the
Yeah.
with the air vent, where was that?
So those are right where my cursor is.
Oh, I
here.
see them there.
And we
Okay.
won't be grading in that area. We'll grade beyond that. So the elevation's gonna stay the same. We're not adjusting those rim elevations.
And that's related to your septic system?
Yeah, so everything's pumped up to the leach field
Okay.
in this area.
Okay.
Okay.
Where do the septic lines run?
I believe it's shown here. You can see the
Okay,
line,
there it is. Yeah. Okay.
and we're staying outside of the septic.
The water course that runs to the north of the property, is there anything associated as far as floodplain or wetlands with that, or?
No.
No?
It's not a stream, it's drainage from
Up the hill?
County Road and Wells Curtis, I'm sure. We did have foundation design out to do an evaluation of the stability of the bank. This is obviously where we landed through design. There was a very long design process where we looked at other alternatives and other improvements associated with this property. However, we landed with just rehabilitation of the patio, but the banks are stable and we're comfortable with the foundations or what would be required to do this work and not disturb any of the existing bank that's here.
Sue, would you say that you're under 20,000 square feet of disturbance total?
Under 20,000? Yeah, I believe it's in our application.
Okay. I only point that out as the town site design criteria requires anything that's 20,000 or more to incorporate water quality features into the project. In this
We
case,
do
sorry.
water quality features.
Yep.
We do have a rain garden. I don't know if you saw that, Lance.
No, I missed it. I apologize.
I saw the detail, but I didn't see where you're gonna put it.
I'll show you. I thought we had the total area of disturbance in one of these. Oh,
That's
I
okay.
can look back at it, but this, I'll show you Aaron's plan has, I'm sorry, I'm probably making you dizzy flipping through this. So in front of this wall, we do have like a level area where we're gonna depress and put plantings in here that are suitable for a rain garden. So
Perfect.
we do have to have a couple inlets with the addition of this site wall. But again, just sheet draining off the patio in directing the water to the rain garden.
Perfect. Thank you.
And we'll have a dry well in there as well.
So John, I think it would be appropriate to note in the PRC minutes that they're not proposing to disturb more than 20,000 square feet. However, they are proposing water quality mitigation.
Okay, got it.
What's your pre and post lot coverage, Sue?
I have that on the cover. I don't.
Yeah, I'm
know
sure
what
it's in your zoning data sheet, or you should have.
It's on
it
the
somewhere.
front sheet, yeah. So we're, lot coverage is 19% and we're going to 20. We really are not adding a lot to this project. It's rehabilitation of existing features.
Lance, I know with the tram, there's some protocol that we usually get involved with in the construction of the tram. Do you want to go over that?
Well, I think most of the trims have been pretty straightforward. I think what we look for is the erosion and sediment control plan to sequence out the installation of that, but I think most of it's been pretty minor. And then the dock project or the improvements associated with dock follow a different protocol. Maybe I'm missing something.
No, that's it. I think in most trams, the foundation is bored. So
Yes.
there's no digging of a, foundation in poured concrete. So that minimizes the amount of earthwork. You do have the landing at the bottom, which you'll have to construct. And that's right there. Yep.
Yeah.
Do you guys, I apologize, Sue, I haven't had a chance to look at anything. Do you have a detail of the tram?
We do. We have a general detail.
I think that's helpful, just to, because
Yeah, and it is,
making
they
some
just,
assumptions, and so I think that's appropriate.
Oh, yeah.
they just bore for the piles.
Yep.
And these are their typical details
Perfect.
Okay.
with the piles there. And then the landing, the existing dock. See this, I didn't submit this because I haven't updated these renderings yet. But I will for Friday.
Those
So,
are, I love this rendering, super helpful.
yeah, I know the colored renderings are definitely helpful with labels, rather than the engineering plans. So the existing dock has this cutout and we're trying to keep the tram landing, beyond the water level. So it would land in where my cursor is now, and we would just have the landing built to fill in this spot here. What is the process, or what would be required if I don't have it already in the application regarding that construction? It's beyond mean high water, so I didn't know if we'd actually have any issues.
Well, we will need the building permit application separately submitted for the tram. We can go over what permits you're gonna need with your application.
Okay.
I did want to note that there is a stream, and I pulled the file for this build because it was a tear down and rebuild in 2006.
Mhm.
And there were multiple variances given for this. One was actually a variance for, I think it was 40 feet, because they're very close to the stream. So I need some time to look through this file.
This
because
is
it's
classified as a stream?
yes. And there was a variance granted for them to build that close to it. Yep.
So there, at the time when this got approval, the determination at that time must have been that that was rendered as a stream, and therefore, I
Yep.
think the
Yep.
town's criteria is it's 100 feet from a stream.
It is. Yep. Absolutely.
That must have been the
So
variance, okay.
I think there was at least 4 or 5 variances, but I know there was at least 3, but I'm thinking that there was another one. Front
Are you able
setback.
to, oh, go ahead.
What's that?
I was gonna ask if you were able to share any of that, if it was relevant to what we're. proposing.
Right, and that's why the file for this property is this thick. So I'm gonna go through it today. I started going through it Friday. But I want to make sure that I get everything. And I will send you all the info of anything that's relevant. I mean, some of this isn't gonna be relevant. The height of the house is not relevant.
Right.
But if
So-
the variance was obtained and we're actually increase or decreasing it, they would be required to get another variance. Is that what you're saying, Shauna?
No, I don't think there's any variance that is gonna be needed. I just think it's important for us to know, what happened in the past.
Okay,
And I did, want to point out that that was considered a stream, so we just don't want to, ameliorate or make anything more non-conforming, obviously.
Yeah, and we consulted the DEC environmental mapper, and that doesn't list as a stream, so that's,
So it's not a blue line stream. It's not a class C stream. It's just a drainage. Okay. I think our new requirements as far as setbacks is based on a class C stream because poor Eric got into so many determinations trying to determine whether it was a blue line stream, whether it had water flowing in for 6 months out of the
Right.
year. And I think we finally settled in on just saying if it's designated a class 3 stream, it requires a 100-foot setback. But which
Yeah.
probably isn't the case with this water course.
and where do you, I mean, does that require, like, where's that classification come from if it doesn't show up on the DEC mapper?
It
Like,
would
do
be,
we have,
I think it's a Lance, it's a DEC class C as in Charles stream, right?
yeah, so what
It is, yeah.
we're all saying that if that line there shows up on those maps as a blue line, topo map or the environmental mapper that Sue referenced, it would actually even show up on the short EAF, or excuse me, the full EAF form. If you were to fill one out, it would be identified, if that is the case for this one. If that doesn't pop up on those instances, then it's likely just a drainage swale that was determined at the time to be a stream based on the criteria that was
Yep.
being.
Right, well, okay, so looking back at the time that this house was rebuilt, there was a 40-foot variance given for the 100-foot setback. It was classified as a stream at that point in 2006.
So maybe, Shauna, maybe what we need to do is, as part of our review, is determine whether or not that is still identified as a stream per the standards that we're following now. And then if we
Right.
need to make a statement or a determination on that.
Right, absolutely. We'll look into this for sure, Sue.
Okay, thank you.
But regardless, I mean, it'll be good to know, obviously, but I'm thinking that it's not, I'm hoping that there won't be any issues for variances.
Is there a vertical difference from the stream up to the patio? I imagine that's quite a rise.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It-
So I
yes.
mean, the chances of the water
inundating
inundating or flooding the patio would be
Yeah,
nil.
this line here is the edge of cliff essentially, and it
Edge of cliff.
drops very steep. It's just shale bank. So we're staying off of that.
Mhm.
And again, the existing patio, we're not coming out much further than the existing patio,
Okay.
so.
Yeah, I think if we follow the procedure that Lance mentioned, that should get you through this issue.
Okay.
Chris had some other comments. So Chris Jensen, our code enforcement officer, is not, he's out of the office this morning.
Taking pictures.
He is. I'll just list them.
Yep.
Need building permit applications, one for the tram, one for dock expansion, separate from other permits, because it is covered under docks and moorings. Oh, this is for the landing pad.
Okay,
So that needs its own. So the tram, the landing pad, and then a site development permit.
okay,
Tram provides reasonable access to lakefront, therefore it is exempt from lake setback requirements. Oh, detail the dock size and the dimensions. Portion of the dock on lakeside of the main high water. Sioux Steel Lands, go ahead.
those need to be submitted with the complete application for the
Yes.
plan. Okay,
Yes, please.
Yep.
I mean, we know things change too, so but just to have them here
Yeah.
is our requirement to get them in at least.
Yep.
Sioux Steel Landscape Architecture PLLC does not hold a certificate. I think he talked to you about this. Does not hold a certificate to provide surveying service. Existing features plan needs to be on its own border from the company providing the services.
okay,
Reference plan source on the Sioux Steel plans.
Yep.
Because you're using Rocco's survey.
it's been easier. Yeah, I
Yeah.
didn't have a title block from them. I'll have them put their survey on their own title block.
All right, we talked about that. Yeah, you want to do the one stage approval. So
Yep.
the plan says preliminary, so we just need to make sure that everything is universal for the one stage.
Yeah, just simply get rid of preliminary.
Take the note, yeah, yep. Stamped, signed paper and PDF copies are required. What does the stamp for permitting only on the plan? Oh, what? Oh, it says for permitting only. If it is on the plans we receive, we don't use those for approvals, so you don't need to. You don't need to put that on there. Oh,
I-
detail separation, what's that?
But I don't need to put what on? What were you saying
The
about?
stamp for permitting only,
Okay,
yeah. Detail separation distance from chimney to adjacent home slash deck slash overhang.
oh, okay.
Back to the,
Oh,
Shauna, and just because, the reason for the stamped permitting only, I don't know the words to use. Sometimes what I like to see, or what I know we do for our plans when municipalities, because what the issue is that the town of Canandaigua requires all plans to be stamped and certified before we approve them. There's a lot of
Right.
places, a lot of engineering firms that will make sure that the issue with doing that is that somebody could take those plans and then build from them. And it has our stamped certification on there.
yeah,
So there's some language sometimes for permitting only or not for construction, some type of note that engineering firms or landscape architects will require to put on the plans just to cover them so that they can't take those plans and actually build from them.
got it.
Right. I can include that note, Lance, correct?
Whatever, I think it's whatever you're, the way it was worded from Chris was a question as to why that was being provided. I think it's simply whatever your comfort level is.
Right, so he's just saying we're not using them for approvals, is that correct, Lance?
Yeah, I think he was just asking the question because it says it, and I think he's
Mhm.
taking permitting like issuance of permits.
Mm-hmm,
And I read it more like approvals, like just during the approval
Yeah.
process only. This isn't for construction, which is
Correct.
usually the notes that I see, not for construction.
Yep.
oh,
Okay.
right, yeah. Oh, and the zoning chart, last comment, we do need the zoning chart filled out. Square footage of buildings, lot coverage.
Building
Okay, I wasn't
Yeah,
sure because we're not changing any of that, so I didn't know if it had to be completely filled out for everything that's existing and not changing. I can take all those measurements and provide all that. It just, I didn't know if it was necessary.
yeah, and actually Chris suggested that the coverage is broken down by driveway, patio, deck, building, tram, stairs.
Okay.
Chuck, do you have any other comments?
No, I think we're ready to go to referrals and who we're gonna send this to and pick a meeting date when this will be heard. The only thing, Sue, is that shoreline guideline statement. Make sure
Yeah,
you
I'll include that.
provide that, and certainly you've done your thing as far as the landscaping. So just refer to that plan in the statement. And any trees that are going to be removed, such as that oak that you mentioned, make sure
Mhm.
that's duly noted. And other than that, I think we can run it up the flagpole.
Okay. All right, I have the checklist for referrals right here. Water, no. Sewer, let's see, we're good there. Anybody? Town of Canandaigua, Chris, obviously.
I would still forward to Fletcher just because sometimes there's a water issue that maybe he wants to resolve, being that we have an application. So if you
Jim
could,
Flat Art, okay.
yes, correct.
Yep. MRB, Ontario County Planning Board, yes. Jared, you would want to see this, right?
Yeah.
Fire, no. Kevin, I would like to look at it.
Sure.
Yep.
Watershed, highway, Department of Health, schools. I think that's it.
How
So
about Tyler?
Yeah, I was just gonna suggest, Tyler, only from the state point that you
yes,
have.
yes, Tyler. Okay. Anybody else, Lance? Chuck?
I
No?
think you covered it.
So
Okay.
if it's going to the county, then I guess we're pushing this back to the meeting of the 24th of August.
Yeah.
Yes.
because we have to give them their due time. Okay, so it'd be 8:24. Seeker, it's what, type 2?
Yeah,
Uh,
I don't, so I have to look it up again because let's call it type 2 for now. So you submitted a short EAF?
Yes,
Okay, if it has to change, I can make that determination as part of my review and make that only because it's not necessarily residential in age. It's a patio that we're putting in. If it was a home, it's type 2, but patio is a structure that has to have a certain criteria. I believe it's type 2, Chuck. For the purposes of this, let's classify as type 2, but if I need to make the change, I can.
Okay. John, for the minutes, I guess you can refer it to type 2.
Don't put all my rambling in there.
Okay, so Sue, you'll address Chris's comments. The planting letter, you're gonna give us more detail on the existing conditions, correct?
the shoreline development.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, pictures, you'll give us the pictures that you showed us. Those will be super helpful.
Yeah, I'll have some photos and then also the site plans,
And then
like the rendered
rendering.
one. Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
And I guess any revisions you're going to make to the plans, Sue, regarding the height of the wall and all that, make sure that that's part of what the packages we send out for the referral. So
Correct.
we don't have to double back with them.
Yes, I'll include the maximum height that we're looking at on those final plans.
And the tree removal and, okay, very
Mhm.
good.
Great.
Okay,
All right.
good to see you, Sue.
Nice to see you all.
Thank you,
Thank you so
Sue.
much for your time.
Yes,
All
thank
right,
you.
have a good day.
Yeah, you too.
Okay, could I indulge the committee to maybe spend a little time on what our agenda is for tomorrow night? Unless
Yes.
Jared has something to bring up for the good of the committee.
No, I don't. I'm just here along for the ride for this first one, seeing what goes on. So
Good to
yeah,
have you.
I don't have anything to add.
Okay. Let's just make sure we have our ducks in line for tomorrow night. I think Ryan is going to be remote tomorrow. He said he
Yes.
was going to be in Colorado.
Excuse me, he said he was, but I'll reach out to him today, or try to.
Uh-huh.
Not sure where he is exactly, just to confirm that.
Okay, well, that's fine. I think Gary and Bob and Amanda are all planning on being there in person as I do. John, you'll be there in person. Lance,
Yep, I'll be there.
Chris will be either in person or
I would
virtually.
imagine, I imagine Nadler will probably remote in.
Okay. We
Mhm.
might need his
I'm-
guidance.
I don't think Chris Jensen will be there.
Okay.
But Nadler, Sean on Nadler will be as,
Right, did you mean Chris or which
No,
Chris?
Chris Nadler.
yeah, I
I
meant
always-
Nadler. I apologize.
Okay, got it,
We kn-
sorry.
We know you're flying solo this meeting.
Okay, yep. Good meeting for that.
You picked a good one.
Yeah,
Okay, so the first item is Aurora, the solar.
Mhm.
I think we're ready to move on that.
Yeah, I guess from my standpoint, Chuck, and I'm not going to speak for you guys, but from my standpoint, they've resubmitted plans. We're going through them now. I can't get through all the technical elements before Tuesday's board meeting, but it looks as if they've addressed or attempted to address all of our comments. I can make this statement tomorrow night. I don't have any major issues or concerns with it going forward for as long as it addresses the board's comments and staff's comments. I think it's a pretty good spot, location for it. They are adhering to all the protocols and the environmental criteria that's necessary for them to do. I did put an abundance of conditions on the special use permit for your
Mhm.
guys' consideration based on what we've done in the past in Canandaigua, and then what I've seen other communities do that we're involved with, some ideas and options from them. So probably something that we should review and go over with at the board meeting, assuming we get to that part and go through it. As for the environmental stuff, which is the first part, Chuck, I know we haven't, I was trying to remember the last part too that we did of this size, and I think it was the last solar project that we had.
Might have been, yeah.
So, I will, my suggestion, and I'm sure Chris's suggestion will be that we We acknowledge receipt, go through the dialogue as you normally would, all your procedures as you normally would. Assuming the board's ready to take action on the environmental process, we would go comment by comment in the part two, and the board would assess those impacts as you see fit.
I think you have what, two resolutions at least regarding the seeker, the.
Yeah, so the
type one?
first one, before we take action on seeker, we need to declare yourselves lead agency.
Mhm.
Our rule of thumb is I don't want to do that and put a time clock, because once you declare your lead agency, you have 20 days to make a determination on the significance of the project. This particular case, it won't be an issue. If you guys weren't going to move forward, they'd be willing to agree and allow you guys to continue it as needed. But to me, it adds an additional time clock that we don't necessarily need. So my suggestion would be, we would declare ourselves lead agency if you, the board, was in a position to make a determination. If you're not, we'd simply continue it to a later date and then go through that process at that point in time.
Well, not only a determination, but also in a position to vote on the site plan and the special use, right?
Right, but you
Yeah.
could do the environmental and then not take action on the site plan and special use permit until your next meeting. If you felt like there was information that you needed to review to make that determination,
Okay.
that's in your purview. There is a time clock from the time we complete environmental review to making a determination on it, but that's 60 some odd days to do.
Okay, so I'll probably call on you, Lance, just for you to expound on what you just said.
Sure.
So that everybody's clear as to what the procedure is, so the board is clear.
Yep.
So we know what we're voting on.
Sure, but procedurally, it would be lead agency, then you do the part two, the part three review, determination, then you would sign the part three. You'd have to give that information back to Shauna and myself, and then I would publish it on the EMB webpage, because that's what type actions are required. That completes the seeker. Then
Okay,
you would
that
do the site
site
plan,
plan.
because that's a component of the special use permit, and then a
And
special.
lastly would be special use. Okay. Okay, got it. Yeah, the only thing I had some angst with regarding the site plan itself was those renderings that David had sent out. Remember, he showed what it would look like, road view.
Mhm.
And the thing that jumped out at me was the frontage with the landscaping behind the fence. The fence was out front, and boy, the landscaping looked great, but it was hidden by the fence. So I know the reason he probably did it was because Jim was requiring the 30-foot setback from the easement, the water easement. So I
Sure,
talked to Jim the other day, and he said, well, 30 feet, that doesn't bother me. I said, Jim, we got to have the landscaping in front of the fence and have the fence behind it. So he said, oh, well, that's fine with me. So I think we can work that out, that
Good.
it'll be easement line, landscaping, then fence, and then arrays. That's the order of how it proceeds.
that
as you
makes
step
sense.
back
It's
in the road.
it's the purview of the planning board. Get what you need to get for landscaping to buffer it out as you see fit, Chuck.
Okay.
That'd be my suggestion.
Other than that, I think David was very responsive to your letter. He's been responsive all the way through the process, and I think it'll be a decent project when it's all said and done.
Great.
Okay, now we move on to Mark's
Can we just skip
Engineering.
over that one?
Can we skip over it?
Can we come back to that?
Sure. Well, yeah, the other things are pretty simple. Well, Morel, we've
Yeah.
got to redo the designation, redo the declaration of lead agency.
Yeah, so I had reached out to Chris and I haven't heard back from Chris. Shauna, I don't know if you've talked to Chris Nadler. I guess my only thought and how I've seen it done before is that, Chuck, whatever you guys' comfort level is, I'm not going to speak for you guys, but I think you would just recall your resolution because you didn't have the right number of people there to vote on it, or however the determination is, and then you simply revote.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jared, did you hear what happened there?
I heard, I watched your meeting.
Okay.
Are you talking about the
Okay.
lead agency discussion?
Yeah. And the
Yeah,
vote came out
I,
2-1.
Yeah, I went back and I watched it, and then I had heard that you didn't, because it was 2-1, you needed 3 or whatever it was. So yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
I was living in Pennsylvania, where Pennsylvania, as long as you had a majority and you had
That's okay.
a 2-to-1 vote, but in New York, it's you need 3. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
we'll hopefully have at least 3 and start. Did Jeff Morrell any pushback from him, Shauna? In your
No,
email?
there was no pushback, and Marathon reached out to us this morning to ask if they needed to attend, and I said no, really. I said we've already discussed internally that we're not gonna discuss anything other than just redoing the resolution. So I said they don't need to come.
yeah, I think that's important that we are very careful about dialogue because we
Yes,
continued
yes.
the public
Mhm.
hearing for this one. So technically, there is no public review going on at this meeting for it. So I would think we are simply recalling the resolution and then revoting it, and it goes wherever it goes from there.
Okay.
Agreed.
The 2 new site plans, Dan McGill out on Davison Landing Road. That's it's pretty cut and dry, I think.
It is.
And the new house out on Hickox. That's
So we'll have 2 resolutions for Gil, secret type 2, and then site plan and findings, right, Lance?
Correct. Yeah, and I think that's been on our docket for a while and just keeps getting kicked down the road for whatever reasons are. So yeah, I didn't see anything major with that one either, Chuck.
okay. They've got some letter of credit releases and an extension. Why 180-day extension on Browncroft?
All right, so I tried to, when I met with Shauna and Michelle, and Shauna, you guys got to correct me where I'm wrong here. So my understanding is somewhere along the
This is
line, this project is the one that had the Eagle's Nest on it, which was the
This
reason
is
that was
it.
preventing them from getting construction moving. So what happened is the time period, 180 days, expired back in April. My thought was, in order to accomplish the 180-day resolution, I broke it up into 2 90-day resolutions. One from the time it expired back in April, which brings them to, I think, the end of July. And that was the first 90-day one that I forwarded to you. That would take action. And then you would vote again, because obviously between now and July, there's a chance that you might not get the plans. So you would take action on the second 90-day, which is allowable per your law, per town law to do. So that would get them the 180 days. There's been some lapse, and in lieu of having a lap period from April to now, I just backtracked it from the dead date or expiration date to now,
Okay.
which
that's
is what
fine.
we've done before, but we never had a scenario like this where it's gone,
We did 2 extensions at once. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And it stays within our guidelines, our protocol of no more than 2 extensions unless act
Yeah,
of
so-
God or something like that.
I'm going to suggest that they submit the plans for signature, because I guess the way I read the conditions, there's nothing there that prevents them from getting signatures. They just can't begin construction until those permits have been provided.
Till the
So if
Eagles
they
fl-
get signatures, they basically got a 2-year window to go forward with. So my suggestion would be to the board to approve the 290 days, give them the time period that's allowable to get the plans in. But I'm also going to suggest that they submit the plans and let's get them signed, because there's nothing there that would prevent them from getting the signatures. And then they have to follow the process to the protocol for removal or protection of the Eagle's Nest.
Okay. Okay, understood. Why it's 180
Okay.
days. Thank you. All right, Shauna, you ready to go back to?
Yeah, just Lance, quickly for Miller, we'll have 2 resolutions as well, right?
Correct. I had
Same
John
as-
caught, I had a couple errors in the title. I cleaned them up, but just like Gil, it's seeker site plan, or excuse me, type 2 action,
two.
seeker
Okay,
approval for the other one.
okay,
Correct.
thank you.
Was Gil? That was type 2, right?
Yes. Yep.
Yes, yep.
Okay. Yep, I remember the resolutions.
I'm
All
just
right,
Okay.
back
here.
to Parks Engineering.
Let's go back to Canandaigua Shores.
Yeah,
Um,
okay.
First of all, we might have some guests show up. John thinks it's going to be 815 people.
Everyone who signed the petition is coming to our meeting.
Well, that brings up a good point before we get into it.
Uh-huh.
Does the room have limitations? Do we have any requirements under COVID as far as capacity in that courtroom? How many people can be in there at one time? I know we have a fire code. We have a fire code requirement, but we also
I think
probably have a,
internal, have inside requirements been lifted?
Yeah,
I'm,
that's.
I
my
will
understanding.
ask, I think they have,
I
but
think
I'm not.
every inside's been lifted.
okay.
So
What
it's
What is
simply,
the capacity of that room though? I mean,
it should be
and-
on the front of the doorway. If you were to go downstairs and look, I'll have a capacity sign for fire code purposes that says how many people can be in that room. I don't know how many people can be in the hallway and in that room. That might be another consideration or question, but what I would suggest is that you post on the front of that doorway, the Zoom in call-in number. So that if somebody wanted to come in, but we didn't have room, they would be able to say, we would be able to say, assuming we got to that part, that, all right, if those willing to leave, you can call in and still have access to everything that we're dealing with tonight on this application.
Mhm.
And the information's on the front door. That's how I've seen other places do it. It seems to work okay. It's not the best, but it does give them the ability to leave without too much craziness going on because all the information's posted right in the doorway.
Okay, the way I see this thing proceeding is, I guess for the edification of everybody attending who've not been following this application, I'll sort of give them an overview of how we've gotten to where we are tomorrow night regarding the application for the MUO, the review of the sketch plan, that the planning board had recommended to the town board that the use was appropriate, but in no way endorsed the site plan or the layout that the developer was proposing. And then he did make or the developer made application for preliminary site plan and subdivision approval. Those plans have since been amended as of last Monday was the first, or Tuesday was the first time I think the planning board had seen revised plans. And Lance, I know you're, I guess, going through those plans. So we're certainly not in any position to take any action regarding the site plan or the subdivision tomorrow night. But I think what we ought to do is listen to the applicant, make a presentation as to what he intends to build, and then certainly open it up to discussion of the planning board members. We can ask questions of the applicant, go back and forth, and then we'll open it up to the public. I'll tell the public what our procedures are regarding limited discussion, don't repeat yourself. And, we're trying to look for specific concerns and address your comments to us, not to the applicant. And we'll go through that dog and pony show, and then we'll, I think, wrap it up. Where are even the seeker? Are we lead agency on that, or is that the designate? No, we
So-
haven't done that yet.
We did coordinate it out, and
That's right.
technically as of today, that 30-day window has since gone and expired.
Yeah.
So tomorrow, you would be in a position where you could declare if nobody objected, and I haven't seen anybody do so on this. However, based on the fact that one, we're having a public hearing, likely going to have an outcry of some comments and questions that have not yet been addressed from the public standpoint, comments and questions that have not yet been addressed from the planning board standpoint and staff. I think our best protocol would be to continue it, the public hearing and the application, not take any action on the environmental review yet, which is in your purview, until such time that you have all the information needed to complete that environmental review.
Yeah, we
Which
don't
at
want to
this
start the
point,
clock. Yep.
Right,
Mm.
exactly.
Right.
Okay. And then we will proceed through the review until a subsequent meeting. And I guess
So,
we should
yes,
have an idea which meeting, the 10th or the 24th.
Do we
So-
do a continuation resolution?
I think Lance provided
I
one.
did, but I didn't put a date. No,
Okay, great. Yeah,
I didn't suggest the 27th in my emails to you guys. And the reason why is I think you're going to have, we'll have, honestly, I don't think 2 weeks is enough period of time for a review of the project to come back in and have all the public back there again, I think you need to put it out a little bit. Two, I think tonight you're gonna get a number of or tomorrow night, a number of comments from the public. What I've seen some communities do, and I've seen this board do before, is some of those questions you ask the applicant to address in a letter back to the planning board. Something that gives them a response to it, that's up to the board to answer those questions. The applicant can answer those questions. He doesn't have to answer all 2,000 of them, but he can answer the ones that are appropriate, that need to be addressed on how they want to address it.
Well, and that might result in a plan revision again, too.
100%.
Right.
There might be something that
Absolutely.
comes out of it that we want to address. And my thought is you push this out, you're not pushing it out because you're delaying it. You're pushing it out because you want to obtain as much information as you can to allow you guys an opportunity to complete your review. And so where I'm at right now, I'll likely have a comment letter out by the end of this week on the revised plans and the information that I have to date. If not, it'll be early next week. And then from that point on, you'll have our MRB letter, which is going to have, John, this is not for the minutes purposes, but I'm somewhere near 100 comments right now on our review of the technical elements, the drainage, the environmental, the site plans, and so on. I think there's a number of things they need to address before we move forward with an environmental review. So I think it's likely that they're going to go back, revise plans, and miss your August meeting, whatever one you put on. But I still think that first August meeting, if that's appropriate for the board, is not necessarily a bad one to consider.
Well, we can set
August
that
10th.
as a goal, but if things drag on, I mean, today we found out he submitted the wrong part one of his seeker. He had submitted it for a dock over on Spring Valley Road or something, because
The ones to the town,
yeah, I was looking at it over the weekend. I said, this
Yeah.
part one's not the right one. So Michelle requested the correct part one today. So we're only getting the seeker.
Chuck, did I give you, I thought I sent it to you on Sunday. Did you not get an email from me?
Yes.
We sent you, yeah, you're right. The
what
file
was-
wasn't, we have the right one from Lance. Lance has been working with the proper document. I don't know why we had the other one in the file,
So when
honestly.
they came through the MUO, they submitted it and they submitted the wrong one too as part of the application. It got called out
Way back.
as part of our review initially before we began the coordinated review, which is half of the reason why the coordinated review was delayed a little bit, is because they, from the time we met with the board to begin the process, did not yet provide the correct full EAF part one, which is what was provided, and we did include the correct version as part of the coordinated review.
Okay.
But still, if the town doesn't have it on their website, then there's something that needs to be corrected, most certainly.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so that's something that just happened. And I think looking at the plans, there are items that board members had brought up to the applicant that they'd like to see changed that weren't addressed. So I think those issues will reappear at the meeting. And then there's the crazy idea I had thinking over the weekend about applying the view shed and ridgeline draft. I mean, I started reading those and I said, obviously this is a property that would be applicable
would
to
be-
those guidelines.
yeah.
And I realized we can't hold them to it because it's not code, but at least, as I called it, a sort of a test drive of the regs to see, and it certainly gives you a more objective concept or idea of what these guidelines or what the ridgeline should look like. So I would think, knowing Brennan, who's been very cooperative with the metros and the uptown properties that he worked on, he was willing to consider standards that had not been adopted yet in his project, that he may consider doing this vision questionnaire that is part of the ridgeline guideline draft. So do you want to run that by him, Shauna? Or we can wait till tomorrow night and bring it up at the meeting? Because it certainly would be a way of maybe suppressing some of the objections that some of the residents may have regarding the view from the lake and some of the issues that I'm seeing in the petition.
Yeah, I mean, that could be a proactive way for me to at least, yeah, get that over to him and say, these are worth looking at and mentioning. I mean, I just think that I think he's gonna be attacked tomorrow badly. So if he had anything to,
Putting these quiver.
fall back on.
Yeah. Well,
I believe he's well aware of the hurdles he's got to follow and go and get through. But I do agree with both of you on this. I think the ridgeline is obviously an important amenity that the town has been trying to protect for a very long time. You have in your possession updated regulations that you're looking to adopt. It's not like we're just beginning the dialogue, they're there. So I think anything that we can do as staff and the board to confirm and regulate as much as we can, we should.
I agree.
yeah, and it's tough to visualize what the visual effect is going to be from the lake. I mean, he talks about that higher section C10 on sheet C104 as being the only visual part from the lake. And he talked about possibly the two single family homes that are in the town. But then you've got the Gorham section beyond that, how much, if any of that is visual. So this is all stuff that we're just sort of, I go out and I'm standing at the dock at the yacht club looking across the other day and taking some pictures, trying to visualize, what effect it would have on it. And it's tough to discern. And I think those guidelines that we mentioned in the draft puts a little more objectivity into it.
I do think he's going to need to provide some visual. We did some with Lakewood Meadows on some earlier versions where they had a profile sheet of the road going up the hill to where the townhouses were, regardless of everybody's opinion on that project. There was at least a profile plan that showed what you would and would not see. I also think something like that profile plan from 364 up should be provided. And then I think he should provide a visual from lakefront up on what he thinks, some kind of rendering for this purpose, Chuck, because I do agree. I mean, an impact that we have to resolve is what are the visual impacts, if any?
He's got some renderings that he put in the latest submission, and the thing that jumps out with that, they're all white roofs. And I mean, it looks like a barracks as you look down that hill. And I mean, just changing the roof color to something dark would soften the visual effect. So, I mean, there's a lot of things to talk about, and I'm sure it'll all come up tomorrow night. I guess the other issue that the petition seems to address is the drainage, the effect on the lake in terms of runoff. And that is a concern, certainly, especially during construction. And we would have to make sure, I don't know if he's going to clear cut this property or how he's going to, I mean, the other thing I'm going to require is he show a limited disturbance in terms of what trees are being removed. I mean, to the point that, I'm not saying he has to go out and put a ribbon around every tree, but at least show clusters of trees they're going to be preserved and ones that will be removed. And that may affect where he can put his buildings too. So,
yeah, I think he's going to have a very detailed phasing plan, Chuck.
I know that was a big concern of the UCB.
Yep.
A lot. And, and I know that's coming up in a lot of the petitions and things that I've heard from people is more details on that and preserving what's there.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm just hoping tomorrow night, just being informed that a lot of these residents will maybe understand that what the project's all about. Right now, they've heard a lot of information from second and third sources, and hopefully they will attend the meeting either in person or virtually, and they get the information and they know what the facts are. And they'll hear the response from the planning board that we're being responsive, and they'll hear the response from the applicant that he has concerns. I guess the one big thing that I'm sure the applicant's going to poo-poo is this thing about his Keuka Shores project being held up, stopped for 2 years. And I see that well, were you involved with that down in Milo?
I was not. They had removed all the trailers, but I had not I wasn't involved in that project.
Have you worked with the developer at all down there?
I have not, but
Okay.
I do know the code enforcement officer that sent us that email. And he's very well respected, so.
Okay, well, that's something that it's not up to us to argue. It's up to the applicant, and they can certainly explain what the situation is. Okay, all right, so I think we'll come with our body armor on, and we'll be flak jackets.
Chuck, I have a question. How do you, I know you've in the past have done time limits. Are you gonna do 2 or 3 minutes? And how do
Yeah.
you do that? Do you keep track on?
Who's actually got the
phone?
clock? Yeah, we ask them to limit it to 3 minutes. I don't say we have to put the clock on them, but if they just keep going on and on and on, we'll say, well, your time's expired, but we'll allow them
Okay.
to finish their thoughts, and assuming their thoughts are
Right.
on point, and it's not
Yeah.
a repeat of somebody else has already said, then we'll let them go.
Okay. All right, I've got somebody at the counter. I have to run.
Okay, thanks, Shauna. I think
see you
we're
all
all
tomorrow.
good.
Yes. Shauna, do I have to do the checklist
The checklist.
for the application we just talked today at PRC? I'm sorry, guys.
No, I have it. I did it. I have it.
I just gave you a thumbs up, but you couldn't see because I didn't have my camera on. Sorry.
I have it. I just did it.
All
I
right.
did it while we were talking. Yeah,
Shauna, can you send me the checklist, please, that you completed?
of course. Yep.
Okay, thanks.
And I will find out about the capacity of the room and just, and then if there's any COVID stuff, but I don't think there's anything for
Okay,
tomorrow.
if they're not, fine. If there is, let me know.
Okay, all right.
Thanks-
Thank
thanks,
you.
Phil. Thanks, Jared,
Bye,
for joining
guys.
us.
Good luck tomorrow night. I have another meeting, otherwise I join in just as
Um,
must-see TV,
Reality TV.
reality TV. I'm sure that we'll have enough of those coming up in the future of our own too.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
for sure.
All right, thanks, folks.
All
All
right,
right,
thanks,
guys.
guys.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.
See ya, bye.